All right, guys. Copper Cutlass here, of course. It's Friday. It's a little late. I've only been out here about 20-30 minutes. I removed all of the fuel injection hoses, the pump, the filter. So our plans kind of changed this week. My friend who was going to come by and help me weld got sick, and he won't be able to make it this weekend, but we got plenty of work. So what I'm going to do is this HVAC box I mentioned in the other video, I'm going to get that off, cut it to my liking, and then I'm going to go ahead and fiberglass it, or at least have it ready to. That won't be a little small project until the car is ready for it, but we're going to get that off. I'm going to remove my fuel lines. I'm also going to do my prep work. I'm glad I moved the fuel lines today because I didn't realize how much fuel was actually still left in the lines. So that stuff should be dried up by the time we start grinding on the frame and stuff. Stuff you guys got to consider as well. So I'm going to be removing those lines, taking care of this HVAC box. I think I'm going to start kind of cleaning up the frame. That's a little project I want to do too. This frame has gotten a little grimy, greasy. It's got overspray from when we did it at school. So I think I'm going to take care of the front half here that we really don't need to do anything to. And I'm going to clean it all up, scuff it as best as I can. And we're going to go ahead and bomb it with some good semi-gloss spray paint just to clean it up and make it a little bit nicer. So that's something that's on my list to do. And then of course, we're going to be doing the HVAC box, getting everything ready to weld. We're just going to try to knock out whatever little things are on our list. And I have to find out the wiring diagram for the wiring harness. I'm going to start figuring that out. I may have mentioned in the other videos that I'm going to declutter the original factory engine harness to suit my current taste, because in these mid-70s cars, they really tried upping their electronics game, and there's so many things that you really don't need for these cars. So I'm going to be doing away with a lot of shit there. And but another thing I wanted to talk about was, I mentioned to you guys I have a goal in mind, I have a budget in mind, and I make lists, right? So these two lists are broken down by, this one is broken down by months, costs, and what I plan on doing. And this list is just a list of the work. So once you figure this list out, you break it down by cost. And I'm showing you guys my hot rodding economy thing here, how to make your things work to your advantage. So I have an end goal for the car. I'd like for the car to be rolling, driving, figured out no later than May. I would like to. Things always do come up. Realistically, our work list here, if I follow it, I should be done by April. But it gives me a 1 month plus window of possibilities, things that can come up, stuff like that. Realistically, the work that we're doing isn't a whole lot. The most expensive thing is the diff, and I'm doing some things that I didn't want to do with that diff. I really wanted to use the Detroit True Tracks. I'm going to dissect the current differential, which is the same one that I have over here, and I'm going to end up using that carrier, which is the 3 Series carrier, but we're going to end up using an Auburn ratchet style locker with a little mini one that goes on the inside. Not a mini spool, this is a ratchet locker we're going to use. And I'm going to try to find a good used gear for it to cut down on cost, because hot rodding can be expensive, and I don't want to spend any more money than I had. Which brings me to my next point. I sold the valve covers off the small block olds. The Mickey Thompson valve covers are gone. I put them up on Facebook Marketplace. They were gone in literally 10 minutes. Easiest $100 I've ever made in my life. And then I also sold the Sniper EFI. Worked out a deal with a friend of mine, the guy who we did that small block for over the summer. I got the heater pointed like right at me. Let me move this. So he was interested in the Sniper. He wanted it. I was able to make him a deal. We worked something out. It's going to bring in, he's going to get a good deal on it, and I'm going to be able to carry on my projects without replenishing my funds for my stuff. So this is how I do a lot of things. I move stuff, I sell stuff. The wheels on this car are actually for sale as well. I'm going to be selling those because we're going to end up putting the wheels from the olds that are on it right now on this car, and I'm going to be going back to the center lines. So this is a big part of what we do in our garage. This is how I keep things going. I move and I shake and I sell and I buy and I flip and I do and all that shit. We do it because I try to offset my costs as much as possible. Back when I was building the current engine, I was also in the process of getting married, and I sold that engine knowing that I had like 90% of this engine done. That money actually went towards our wedding, but I sold the engine, all that money went towards our wedding. So we always have some form of like liquid equity in our parts. So my advice, and this is something I always do, when you buy something for your car, you don't only think about putting the part on your car. You got to think about resale potential. And this is where this might be crazy on my part. But when I put parts on my car, I think about resale value. Even when I buy used parts, because there's certain things like carburetors that like the carburetor that's on here, if I need to go to something bigger, I can sell that carburetor and make my money, and if not maybe a little bit more, because I got this thing figured out, worked out, it's working good. I made some modifications, I made some serious repairs to it. And anytime you do something like that, the best thing is being able to show people that it works. So that's another reason why I also do a lot of videos and stuff of my stuff working, because potentially any part that's on the car that I upgrade, I want to sell. So there's proof that it worked. And usually everything is pretty close in dates to where people trust that. So that's one of my approaches to this hobby, and I've been doing it long enough to the point where I am at that point. I know that, but even early on, I used to go to swap meets, and I had a thing for wheels. I've always had a thing for wheels. It's a little obsession of mine. I love wheels. Are one of the quickest, coolest things you can do to your car to change the look, change the style, change whatever. Last year I did these wheels. I don't have a lot of money invested in them, but they look cool. It was a different look and I enjoyed it, but ultimately I want to go back to the old school look. So I'm going to do the center lines, and I might get some slots for it. I don't know, but I have to keep in mind that my wife and I are pretty much going to be sharing slicks or drag radials or whatever we got. So this car is going to end up getting street tires, 275/60s in the back, and I'm going to get the drag radials. But with that in my mind, if the drag radials don't work for my car, because in the past I had problems hooking on a drag radial, the drag radials are going to be my street tires. They're going to be her race tires, and I'm going to be running on the full slick bias ply style wheel. So these are things that I always consider. My projects are just get shit done and buy stuff. I also think about resale value and potential of everything. Anything I have in this garage is ultimately something that has a value to it. I can sell it to make money to keep something going. So, this month, February, I have my work laid out for me. So what I got here, I know she did a close-up, but I'll kind of read it off. So we're doing the frame. My frame bushings are good. I'm going to do a different modification to the underside of the bushing where it mounts, because I want a more positive lock to the frame to the body. And then we're going to be making the control arms for the rear. My buddy and I are going to make those, and it's going to be a really good, it's pretty basic to make your own control arms, but we'll show you the links, what we're going to use, all that stuff. But that's another project for that. The AC box, I'm doing a lot of the cheap stuff in February. Why? Well, February is a short month. It's a really short month. So pay period wise, it's tight with everything. So I have to do all of the least costly things. I bought the plate for the frame. That was $35. The valve covers did more than cover that. In a couple of weeks, I should have the money to buy the square tubing and the DOM round tubing for the upper control arms, and the reverse and standard bungs for the to be able to adjust them. And so we're trying to keep February as cheap as possible because it's our least flexible month. It's the shortest month of the year. And this is how I planned it out. So come March, you know, sorry, I kind of cut that short, but in February, we're going to take care of that, which a fiberglass kit is cheap. You go buy some cloth, your epoxy, your resin, and your MEKP hardener, a little kit. It's cheap. Our wiring, I can do the wiring. It's pretty much just eliminating wires, replacing as needed. That's cheap. So we're doing a lot of that this month. The most excitement is probably going to be doing the frame, the control arms for you guys. Other than that, we're going to be doing a lot of little stuff where I'll probably be doing real short videos and updates like this. Whereas the last month, we did a lot of lengthier videos as I kind of started setting up the camera and stuff and just working with stuff like that, body removal and all that. So in March, the engine is going to get a little TLC. We're going to be doing seals on it. I'm going to be going to adjustable rocker arms, which a friend of mine helped me out on those. He spotted them to me. You know, he's a good friend of mine. We always go back and forth with advice. He trusts me. He always bounces ideas off of me. And I'm always interested in what he's got going on because everybody's got unique situations. And I think we have that kind of friendship where even though we've only hung out a couple of times, we do talk a lot on the phone, texting back and forth, messaging and stuff. So it's pretty cool. And so he's helping me out with the rocker arms in trade for down the road. If I find a laptop from somebody, I'll give it to him. And he's a bit of a PC repairman. So I'm getting those rocker arms pretty much for free. All we got to buy at that point is studs, guide plates, and we have to find a rocker arm that will work for our setup. I could go to a trick flow, which is a little expensive, but in this application, I think we're just going to find some stock push rods because we don't have a lot of spring pressure. It's a low lift cam, not a lot of duration. The main thing with this setup is being able to adjust the valve train and setting the preloads to something that's more satisfactory. So it's going to get cleaned up, fresh coat of gold, because I want the old gold on there. My dad painted it orange. He wanted it orange, so we're going to paint it gold. And then the transmission's going to get some seals. It works fine. And it's going to get a fresh coat of paint. We're going to paint it black. Little stuff like that. And then, so hopefully at some time at the end of March, let's see, we got, I got all my parts here that I'm going to do. So the engine is also going to get a timing chain, engine seals, rocker arm studs, guide plates, push rods. I got my seal kit here because I'm running out of seals. I usually have that in stock, believe it or not. I have inventory. I got, so it's $35 for the seal kit. Then the rear end. So the rear end is one of those things where I don't know if I'm going to do it this month or in March. And I say this month because technically we're still in January, but I already consider it February because this weekend is technically the first weekend of February. So I don't know if I'm going to be doing the rear end in February or March. And I'd like to do it in February because we're going to be doing the control arms and I don't want to be moving stuff in and out too many times. But the rear end is one of the most expensive projects of the whole thing because that one part is going to take up almost, you know, I mentioned it before, about $1,000. I've cut it down to about $750, $700 in some of the part changes that I've done, which they should work. I've read the reviews. People have used them in the same applications we're doing. So I'm fairly confident that what we're going to be doing is going to work. But ultimately, it's not my ultimate game plan, but I think we're going to be fine for what we're going to be doing anyway. And, here in April, my game plan is to have the car together by that point for the most part. And we're going to be doing small stuff like putting on the gas tank. We're going to be doing the springs, changing the wheels if I haven't sold them already. So in the back, I'm going to go to regular shocks because it's got air shocks, which is shit. And I'm going to be changing the springs in the back to something that suits our use a little bit more. The front end of this car is fine, but we're going to be doing a lot of little things like that in April. Hopefully our end goal is May. Probably some of this stuff can get done in March, even this month. I just like to have a game plan to follow not only for goals, but financially to be able to work with stuff with what the budget allows. So I'm not just trying to spend money to get something done. Everything is pre-planned and thought out based on when I think I should do things, what I think money is going to allow based on the layout of the month. And not only that, but in the job, what I do, we have slow periods, and right now is our busy period as I work in the collision industry. So winter, snow, we're busy. I'm taking full advantage of those months for some of that, the not only to be able to do this stuff, but financially to save and stabilize our lives. So I figure I'd let you guys in a little bit more into my mentality on how I approach my projects, and it's not just throwing money at it and going out there and working. I actually do have stuff and notes I write down constantly. When I'm done working, I go out and they change. Like this, we can't weld today or this weekend, but we're gonna get this off and get things going and start on that. And I would like to have this AC box done this weekend. That'd be really cool. It might happen. But the ultimate goal this weekend is to have the frame prepped out, ready to weld, and start attacking some of the other things that we need to do for this month on our list. So I won't kill any more of your time, guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for following. Hit the like, subscribe, follow us on Facebook at Copper's Garage. I'm also on Instagram as Copper Cutlass, as well as on YouTube as Copper Cutlass. So if you guys like what we're doing, share it, give us a like. See you.